things change, and you got to move with the flow. Don't be afraid of change.
Don't look like you're going to pull out the arrow and the bow and like that's that target across the room.
Right.
And that's the only thing I'm focusing on.
I think you miss a lot of things if you focus like that.
We're live today on Imagine Fitting In with Leslie Harshman-Moorman.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you.
It's been a little minute since trying to put this together, right? And get to set a date.
Yeah, it's like I kept moving to the back of the line.
So you had mentioned that, busy. And, we're going to talk about all that, how we know each other and what you're into. But Imagine Fitting In podcast is all about mentors, healthy living, and community.
Yeah.
And I think that, you, as similar to me, we're kind of caregivers.
Yes.
The wellness side, if you say preventative maintenance type stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm sure you can agree that our work requires a sense of peace and stability and a base structure framework where people can walk in when they hire us for our services.
Right.
And I'm interested in learning more about your career and your story. And usually, often I start the podcast by, asking you about, where you were born, where you call home today, what was family life like, and growing up.
Yeah. Well, I was born at a Dayton hospital, St. Elizabeth, which is... Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. I grew up in Vandalia, north of Dayton.
Okay. Just to let you know, my father is from Vandalia.
Is he really?
Yeah, he was born up on 7136 North Dixie.
Oh my gosh.
And my younger brother has just recently purchased that property of my father's family home.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so look at this. Cheers.
Yeah, people know, north of town, but, Vandalia, as we would say it in a fancy realm.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm like,
because people would call it Vandalia, like the onion, but it's not. It's Vandalia.
Vandalia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little...
Do you know where that originates from? Any idea?
I don't. I have no idea.
Well, there's got to be a story.
There's got to be a story.
Just like Leslie's story in Vandalia.
Yeah.
So continue.
I grew up there and went to elementary, Demet. I'm a Demet kid, Demet Eagles.
Okay.
Then we went to, Morton, the old Morton. They've now torn that down and rebuilt it closer to Smith Junior High.
Okay.
And then Butler, graduated from Butler. So,
okay.
Yeah, pretty much my whole career of, school in that aspect.
Okay. And what did you have siblings?
Yes, I have a sister, an older sister and brother.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was 3 of us. Yeah.
And now where do you sit in the pecking order?
I'm the baby.
The baby.
Yeah. I think I was the oopsie. I'm 6 years younger than my sister, 9 years younger than my brother.
Oh, well, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
so what did your parents do? Was your mom stay home and your dad worked? What was the family life like?
For the younger years, my mom stayed home, and then she had, a couple different jobs. She worked at the high school in the cafeteria. So that was always fun, Mom would hook us up with, and my friends and I with a little extra of something or another.
Chocolate milk.
French fries.
Oh.
or the extra scoop of tuna on the croissant.
Oh, look at you, right? Hey, there's some perks.
There are some perks.
I mean,
it's the little things.
Sure. My mother, God bless her. There's 4 of us, and she did the same thing as soon as she can get out and do part-time work.
Yeah.
So okay, and so it's what's my next word? Oh, what did your father do for work, or what he kept busy with?
Yeah, he was he was a blue collar guy. He worked for Dayton Press until it shut down. So as a printer. which is kind of ironic because Mike worked at a printing company until, he was full time with the gym. So that's kind of a weird correlation because you don't hear that a whole lot.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you something even more crazy, wild. How 6 degrees of separation, okay?
Yeah.
We're in Dayton, right?
Yes.
If you ever seen my videos with my friend Rick King, who's a phenomenal lead guitar player, he was kind of like my music mentor. His dad worked at Dayton Press.
Really?
Multiple people of my age, friends of his and ours, going through our first band, they worked at Dayton Press.
That's crazy.
And I started in commercial art. I was in printing. And design.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I've had a lot of guests that are like graphic backgrounds, printing, whatever. Right. And so I'm super in tune with, I know those pressmen. I know what that, I had that energy of, I was like the designer. I was creating all the mechanicals, the artwork back in the old school days of how printing presses worked, and we got stuff done. Yeah. So I think, I'm not sure if I ever mentioned to you, but when I moved to Chicago in 1984, Chicago was the print capital of the world.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that's where I went and started my career in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
I went to John H. Patterson, which is now demolished and whatever. So we're like in that vibe. Okay, so your dad, did he retire there? Did he work there for a long time?
Nope, they shut down, and then then he ended up working for Chrysler. So until he passed.
And just getting it done. Right?
Yeah, hard worker.
Pulling the bootstraps up, figuring it out.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, definitely, my mom, did the school thing, and then she ended up working at a nursing home. I mean, the one thing I can say with both of my parents is they taught all of us a good work ethic. You work, so.
Well, I hear you, right?
Yeah.
And I hear traces of, just as a short description of your mom, she seemed like a very compassionate lady.
Yeah, she was. She was a caregiver for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful. My mom, you know what my mom's motto was?
What?
She's like, work hard, stay out of trouble, save your money.
Yeah. Yes.
And I said, Mom, I did pretty good. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right?
Yeah.
I let her decide which one I didn't do.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
So when you were a kid, I ask this question all the time. Did you have any idea? Like, do you remember in that dream state? Like, when you're a kid, when before this idea, peer pressure and whatever energy around you, did you ever have dreams as a kid to like do something, be something?
Yeah, I mean, as a young kid, for the most part, I was a tomboy, first of all. So I was always, outdoors, physical, climbing trees, playing kickball, riding your bike, chasing down the ice cream truck, whatever. You know what I mean?
You were in it.
I was in it. Yeah, I was definitely always outside, and had to be home by the street light. When the street lights came on, that was always, because I was gone from the time I was allowed to go outside to when I had to be home.
It's funny if you say that because people don't realize, kids don't realize it is in the past. The way it worked, it was like most time, if the kids had free time. Yeah. And the parents were home and trying to relax maybe between work or whatever, getting things done. Yeah. They're like, get the hell out of the house. Yeah. And don't come back. Go keep yourself busy.
I remember some kids getting locked out of their house. You know what I mean? Sorry, we can't go have a Kool-Aid at my house today. Can we go to yours? You know what I mean? That's kind of how it broke down, and like going to other kids' houses in the neighborhood,
That's so almost like
abusive.
It's almost,
it would be today anyway.
It's almost like penitentiary training.
Yeah. Yeah, go figure out your day, know. But it was safe, you know what I mean? The neighborhoods were safe.
Right. And, everybody knew what everybody's energy was as individuals. We knew our strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes that got little like crazy in terms of our coming of age. Right. But, we all knew the cool parents. Yeah. We all knew the parents that were not home. Right. We all knew we all knew the friends, right? That's right. We all knew the friends that would like push the envelope on what they would like do. Yeah. And we would and if you were like in or not, it'd be like, oh no, I'm not going. I'm going home.
That's right. That's right.
So
get back to quick. Yeah. I would say on the bigger spectrum, I wanted to be a doctor.
Really?
Yeah, that was like my thing. I thought,
You
yeah.
think that it sounds like to me it comes in the blood of your mom, that compassion and that caring
Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah, I just wasn't smart enough in that sense. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I guess school was not an easy thing for me, and not that I had troubles learning. I always blame it on my mom because of my birthday. I'm that September baby. So, going into kindergarten, it was like normally the 5, 6. She put me in a little early on the cusp, you know what I mean? So I was always and still, I'm the youngest person in my class.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So, I always felt like I was trying to catch up. I mean, I did fine in school. Don't get me wrong. I didn't,
Yes.
but I don't know. As those school days and, junior high and whatever, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, that doctor thing. That's a lot of school.
Okay, I will tell you that majority of guests on the podcast would say I would say at least 75% are like, I wasn't too much into school. It wasn't like I wasn't smart or engaged.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me, or I found something else interesting. Like I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I identify that. And I could have been like an A- student. Yeah. If I really put my mind to it, but either being distracted by various other circumstances out of my control during that time, and or the environment overall, and we're all sensitive creatures, right? And we all are run and fueled by certain things, right?
Right. I think growing up, in my household, my dad and mom doing what they did, there just wasn't a lot of emphasis on doing anything outside of the box. It was, you either
structure.
work in a factory or something in the sense, or you go to school to be a nurse, a doctor, whatever, So I kind of played around with a little bit of that path.
Well, that's a great baseline structure. Now, same here.
Started, gosh, I haven't even thought about this in a long time, actually. I started, I went through, after I graduated, I did a couple years in Sinclair. I did, before that, actually, I did some career center stuff, like for, I don't know, I guess, to work at a doctor's office, like drawing blood and that kind of thing. And
okay, those kind of precursors to stepping inside that
got
environment.
into, then started down the nursing program stuff at Sinclair. And I'm working the whole time to put myself through school.
What were you? What kind of job did you have?
I mean, I've pretty much had every job under the sun besides fast food. Seriously, I mean, from daycare worker, parking lot attendant, to work, waitress at the airport, and you know what I mean. I mean,
hustle.
Yeah. So, I ended up getting a job for a credit reporting company. And I kind of landed there for a while and still went to school. And then
nursing school.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Working to get actually into the program, doing all the prereq stuff. I got accepted to the program, and then I ended up, the company that I worked for got sold, and which I continued on with that move or transition. And things just kind of started rolling from there in a different perspective of out of the box. That .com era was kind of going on, and the company
started in the 90s. Whatever.
Yeah. So when the company was bought, they started another, company, and I got to be involved in that startup piece. And I just, money was good, so I just made a complete left turn. Yeah.
I mean,
so to speak.
Can't blame that in terms of like opportunities.
Yeah.
Right?
I learned a lot. I mean, I got into sales, I managed, I would set up our new clients and then come back and put a team together, teach them to what,
Well, look at you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did all that stuff too. Then, then babies came along, and I was able to, to pretty much be a stay-at-home mom, which was, super blessed and lucky to have been able to do. After my daughter, my oldest child, was born, she was born in 2002. So probably like 2005, a Pilates studio opened up My Pilates. I don't know if you want me to mention other
No, we can
places.
We'll definitely get there. But let me go back up a little bit a second here. When you were in nursing school, you were hustling.
Mm-hmm.
Who got that opportunity for you? Was there a particular person or a teacher? How did you end up with that opportunity to work for that company?
Actually, a girlfriend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, they were looking for, because at that time it was a smaller, like I said, just a credit reporting company. So it was small. There was only three, quote unquote workers there, plus, the two owners.
They were looking for
so they were looking for
bodies.
They were looking for bodies. I was filing.
Okay.
Initially,
Sure.
then learned the process and the credit reporting business. And
Old school.
Yeah.
And so
for mortgage companies, that's what we did.
Right.
It was credit reporting for people that were buying or refinancing their homes.
And there's a nugget that I want to point out too. This podcast is about inspiring young lives and inspiring just anybody basically.
Yeah.
Because when you go into an opportunity, no matter what age, and somebody's offering up to invite you in, give you, a role in a company, whatever that company is, and you're doing the groundwork to support what the vision of the company is, what it is and where it's going, then that just enables you to obviously grow and have the opportunities, which I think that's a huge nugget. I'm trying to develop nuggets in these conversations.
I think the biggest thing is just move, physically, mentally, whatever it is that you're looking for, any path is not a perfect straight line. It's zigzags, right? So I think sometimes people get fixated on, well, I want this, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't, move towards your goal, but sometimes, at least in my experience and in my life and journey, what I thought I wanted,
things change.
Things change, and you got to move with the flow. Don't be afraid of change, because change is hard and those turns can be uncomfortable, Yeah,
it's interesting you said that, because I just had this, I shared with my brothers and my aunt about how I was sharing oh yeah, this is so exciting. I have now, I'm working more directly with actually you and Mike, and we'll talk more about that at Absolute Fitness, and it's a great environment, and I just love it. I've always loved what I do, and when you said that things change and move and grow, and be open to opportunity, and it's always so encouraging to hear someone, and you're shouting it out basically, to just have that openness. Don't look like you're going to pull out the arrow and the bow and that's that target across the room,
right?
And that's the only thing I'm focusing on.
I think you miss a lot of things if you focus like that a lot of times,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Great nugget.
Yeah.
Great nugget. So was there any particular teacher along the way at any time or individual that you've considered was caught your attention? Do you remember if it was in
like a school teacher?
High school or some program, or is it maybe just your friend that was somebody that was a strong kind of influence that helped support you? Or
I definitely had some good teachers along the way, but
any standouts?
No. Is that terrible?
No. Because
I don't mean that in the sense that they weren't good teachers. I just think that, I think you just, like you said, you just grab what you can from whomever and you move to the next.
Yes.
And I think especially in school, I was just not a very settled student.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and of course, our brains, when the hormones take off, right? And we're just like,
yeah.
So you never had any kind of particular challenge or all of a sudden shout out opportunity, somebody recognized you and to give you an opportunity?
As a teacher, I think I mean, not really, because I'm kind of a behind the scene. Like I don't like to be front and center. So,
So
you know what?
you're
Yeah. I
duck and
don't
move,
pick
duck and
me.
move.
Don't pick me. Don't ask me the
Were
question.
you
I
the-
mean, not that I wouldn't know the answer,
Were-
but I
were-
mean, don't pick me.
Were you the one like sitting in the back going like this?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, very much so.
Okay, now I want to know. How is it now that you're not that person?
I am still that person to some degree.
Well, you show. Maybe you're somewhat like me in terms of if the average person just hears this conversation right now, I mean, I would take you as more of an extrovert than an introvert. But if it's a relaxed condition right now that we're in, that you're so comfortable with me because we know each other now for a bit,
Yeah.
and that kind of like, what is it? That quiet time that inner reflection is almost constantly going on. Would you say that's a fair?
I think people seek me out. I feel more than I seek people out.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a weird way. I don't know what the right word is for that, but I feel like, whatever the energy is that I project,
Absolutely.
People either, absorb it, see it, attracted to it, or they're not, and those are the people that I want to interact with. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
So I don't, that's why I'm okay being a little bit in the back of the line.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't.
You're confident, actually. You're actually more, you have this more inner confidence that I don't need to step up and break through in terms of the surface. You know how like a teacher would say, okay, now everybody's going to come up here and take their turn.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be certain levels of fright, certain levels of like, oh, I just don't want to do that.
Right.
Certain levels, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Certain levels of like, this teacher is crazy, or this teacher, like, whatever. But I completely agree and compliment you and thank you for the nugget because that energy, and I'm 100%, the only clients that I have and you have are the ones that are supposed to be with you.
Correct.
And that's why, that whole term of personal training, I just want to somehow get rid of that two words together. But it is in sense of that energy, timing, what each person has to offer, what is radiating out to a level of the potential for these individuals that walk in, they're looking for something, right?
Correct.
And like you said, it's either like a soft vibe, a direct hit, and it's just like immediately they're just taken by your energy, like, oh, this feels right. Or they might have that little, right? That kind of like that little, right? There's like there's three little angles of people like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll get back to you. So sometimes your energy, they could experience all the good stuff, maybe sometimes too much. And they're like, oh, gosh, I can't handle, that's like almost a little bit too much. You feel me?
I
Because
do.
they mechanically walked in, say they're looking in for a fitness place, right?
I mean, why people choose, us,
Right.
I mean, that can be 1,000 reasons, but I think the bigger thing is, once they make a choice to, investigate, or to see if it is a fit, you have to be able to, at least for me, it's part of what I do, you have to be able to read the room.
Right.
You have to know and be able to kind of see what this person themselves is bringing to the table. Mm-hmm. Because it's not always 100% a physical thing.
Oh,
right?
Well, the psychological side
Right.
of that was going to,
Right.
mention, as obviously mentioned, that is a part of that, our artistry.
Yeah.
In
artistry. That's a nice word.
Our artistry.
Yeah. I don't think of myself as an artist. I'm a lollipop tree kid.
Well, the artistry of how you at any given time are able to, and I do this all the time. First, I wasn't really I was unconscious about it, but now I'm very conscious of it, on how to trust your instincts to create this almost targeted energy. It can be even day by day as you see them the next day to try to adapt. And I think that's what we get really good at, because we have so many different personalities and vibes and energies coming at us.
That's correct.
You feel me? And we are almost like on the front lines of a psychologist, where people come in, and I see if this connects with you. I'll have a client. I've talked to them on the phone. I understand what the mechanics of what their problems are and issues, whatever, and their concerns.
Right.
So I come up and I have a whole plan. And then when I first meet them, basically that first session is kind of pretty easy to kind of like implement.
Yeah.
You start getting a vibe. And then going forward each session, I'm sure, see if you can identify with this, you'll have a plan of attack. And all of a sudden they come in, and there could be something that just happened, or they're feeling a certain way, or for whatever circumstance.
Right.
And we have to adapt. We're like chameleons.
Yep.
And that's the artistry.
It is. It definitely is.
And it's almost like being a diplomat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you have all these different, imagine when we say they have some angst, they have some low energy, they have some stress, they have some hidden things that they're not really discussing, that we know there's like permeating there. And and to whatever degree percentage, and we just have to kind of flow. And that's what I've learned in my practice as a fitness trainer, wellness, physiotherapist, that I find that physical plane, which I know we can talk more about this, the physio plane, right? The physiological plane is just so powerful, and it's simple to discuss and get people going. First, they're like, oh, it's like they always tell me with my art, right? Oh, I can't draw. Oh, I can't hit that ball, or I can't move. No, come here. So we allow them to say, here's where we start. Right. So where did you put like most of your focus in the 20s? You're now back at that company. You're growing. You're actually teaching. You're actually elevating that company at that time, right? That you said you were actually coaching and helping people.
Yeah. Yes.
So what happened after that? Where'd you go from there?
Well, I ended up pregnant with my daughter, and I quit my job so I could stay home and be a mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that back to your mom's nurturing, caring side, and that avenue. Yeah. And so we know that, we'll let listeners know, obviously, that, and people who know you know this, Pilates, right? Did you first just go into this career targeting Pilates, or how did that journey start for you?
Well, I had read about it, and then there was a new studio that had opened, I think 2005, my Pilates, and I was super stoked, and I went to the open house, and beautiful studio, and I started, practicing there for a short bit, loved it, was hooked, because I was never a gym rat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm definitely more outdoors in that aspect of exercise. So that was different for me. Even though, being in a Pilates studio versus a gym, it's kind of a different flavor, so to speak, but it was still different for me to want to go somewhere to practice an exercise program.
It was almost like a new individual vibe modality that you could step into without the chaos of all the testosterone going on in a typical gym.
Well, and the approach was something I had never experienced, I'd never really done yoga or anything like that. And I think that was probably, that was the start of my awakening in a different direction, and then I got pregnant with my son, and, that got delayed again for a little while.
So you were practicing. You weren't teaching. You were practicing Pilates
for myself. Yes.
And then you had your second child.
I had my second child, and
I'm sorry. What's the
Holden?
Let's do a shout out to your daughter.
Chloe, little Miss Chloe.
Shout out to Chloe
and Holden,
and a shout out to Holden.
Yeah.
And I've met Holden. Hey, Holden.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of project together.
Yeah.
But okay, so you're there. You have a couple kids.
Yeah.
And when does the light go off that you're like you want to like investigate that for professional avenue.
Yeah, I just, Holden was, I don't know, about a year old or so. And, you're starting to get things back together for yourself, the nursing and all the stuff and getting your body back and your energy back and your sleep back and all the things. So my mind started to go back to, well, I need to start doing more things for myself again, which took me back to Pilates.
Right.
And then at that time, somebody actually referred me to a different studio. And I started again, practicing with a gentleman, and just, fell in love with it again,
Nice.
and it was at that point that, I asked him, how can I learn to teach this? So, I started that process.
So you had like an apprenticeship.
I did.
And
He ended up coming out of, not starting his own studio. And when that studio opened in 2008, I started my practice teaching and my training, which was kind of a long haul because I'm fully certified, advanced across the board in STOT. So
and there's your mentor.
Yeah.
Who was your mentor?
Patrick Presborowski. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Patrick.
Yeah, he was a mentor. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he was.
There's these bridges and these opportunities in our timing in space and circumstance, which, obviously you felt it, that sense of your own taking care of you.
Yeah.
And then that allowed the channel and you to be obviously empowered to then begin to help others, even extend out yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that I see that in our practice. We obviously work at Absolute Fitness, so
Yes.
shout out to Absolute Fitness. And your husband, Michael Moorman, who
Yes.
we just had on the podcast.
Yep.
Shout out to Michael. A little combined force where, you have a definite vibe energy to you that I think it brings, like, it's almost like icing on the cake, what I feel in the gym.
Oh, thank you.
And
That's a nice compliment.
And I as I walked in, met you guys and felt the energy and stuff, I just tried to figure out how I could throw a few sprinkles on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then see, how that went. And so it's been a really wonderful experience. And I thank you both.
Yeah.
Because I think, I believe from what I know, and I've been around the country, and Mike and I started our careers about the same time, back in the early 90s. I think our facility is, haven't heard about anybody else is good. I don't think it's good. We have some really top rate offerings, and from physiotherapy to Pilates to sports performance and athletics. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavors at the gym for sure.
Right.
At Absolute Fitness. There is someone for everyone.
Exactly.
And in every different modality for sure.
And I just love that. And I only excel in a kind of family type environment where, there's when that energy, that positive energy permeates, and it's everybody's learning, everybody's growing, everybody's exchanging. You talk about the weather to sports to how hard that last set was.
Right.
And we can see everybody sees each other get sweaty and gritty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so much when you go out and you see somebody all dressed up, you'll barely recognize them.
That's right. That's right. That happens a lot, actually.
So let's educate listeners. And again, I'm familiar with Joseph Pilates, wasn't it? Joseph Pilates?
Yes. Yeah.
Who developed the Pilates system. So what is the Pilates, what your understanding of Pilates?
I think in a, simple breakdown, Pilates, it's a practice. It's a mind-body connection, with a core focus, exercises that are designed to improve strength, flexibility, stability, and posture. I mean, that's as simple as I can say it. There's a lot of meat and potatoes in there, but
right.
But I think basically that's the breakdown.
I think that's like that foundational when we say the word core.
Yeah.
Now, something that I'll share with you when I started my fitness career in '92 in Chicago, I worked for a kinesiologist. Mm-hmm. And he was sports performance, and he had a sports medicine doctor working with him. So these mentors were just fabulous with me. And I learned a lot. And at that time, in the early 90s, up in Chicago at least, the buzzwords were functional fitness.
Yeah.
Now, see, I used to be in advertising.
Yeah.
And advertising is all about KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
Right?
Well, because it gets to be not everyone has that mindset.
Right. So the message turned to this core. It's all about the core.
Right.
Well, for a long time, I don't believe it was explained and really put in circumstance of what meaning having a strong core means. And you know this, obviously. It's it's the foundation which we build on. And then that when, my moniker is I'm the balanced professor.
Yeah.
So, and you know what everybody wants to do? They want to stand on one foot in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's a balance of power.
Right.
And when that, I think, and I'm sure you can agree, that Pilates and the kind of dynamic work I do, we're trying to have people be a little bit more kinetically aware of their bodies. I always say this too, remember when you're a kid on the playground and there was always one kid nobody could catch?
Yeah.
That was Michael Jordan.
Yeah, right.
And the one that was stumbling, flailing their arms, trying to keep up with everybody else in between, all different groups, was Bill Gates. So in terms of just kinetic awareness, right, and getting in tune of people's how they move, right, our work, we help them be better dancers if they want to dance,
right.
The movement, right,
right.
And I think then from circumstance of like everything I know about Pilates. And I need to come in. I want you to put me through a couple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I had been put through some sessions years ago. And it just, for whatever reason, it wasn't my vibe. So I was more into sports performance and active, dealing with injuries and prevention and high intensity training with already well-conditioned athletes.
Right.
But anyway, the use of Pilates is like, obviously, it is a great modality for a lot of people to both, I think, like you mentioned, that core, balance, posture, mobility, flexibility. And it's almost like some things fit people to be able to get into the gym. And what I find what's beautiful about Absolute Fitness is, number one, somebody came in the other day and she said, I love coming here because it doesn't feel like the normal gym.
Right.
It feels welcoming. It feels like everybody's like there's a synergy of a purpose and a goal.
Right.
It's not like looking at each other and this bigger box, gyms, these gyms that are like also kind of chaotic and whatever.
Right.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then I think like we mentioned before earlier, that there's somebody for everybody and there's a modality that we offer that it fits the vibe and people can excel.
Right.
So now what population of people do you work with primarily?
I mean, Pilates is for everyone. I have worked with, young athletes all the way, I think my oldest client right now is 84. So, it's people I think that Pilates is just a mat-based exercise program, but there's, there are a lot of props and other equipment, stability chair, arc barrels, spine correctors, the Cadillac. So there's a lot of variety. There's a lot of ways to challenge, dial it up, dial it down. So it really can be everything if you want it to be.
So going back to, as I used to be in advertising, right? So it's literally, and I completely agree with you, because there was this huge, large push, and everything wants to be commercialized, and when they all of a sudden mat Pilates, right?
Right.
So it was so simplified to try to encourage more people to come in to check it out. But then on that scourge of that, like trying to get the masses, what you just said, all those details of what Pilates truly is, and that equipment, that techniques, and the origination of that
Right.
is powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people I know even myself as a fitness professional,
Right.
I'm aware of it. And that kind of took over. And for a long time, I was thinking like, oh, Pilates, you don't necessarily have to do a reformer.
No.
Yeah, I just assumed that. But in circumstances, I'm sure you can tell me, right? Are there circumstances, I'm sure, where you can be much more targeted with your equipment for certain situations?
Right. I mean,
compared to just like doing Pilates on a mat?
Yeah. I mean, especially, people maybe that have had, knee replacements, hip replacements, shoulder replacements. They're not going to, and I work with a lot of those people in that population, like post-surgical, rehab, right? Yeah. Just because they're out of rehab doesn't mean that everything is still functioning 100%. And, getting down on a floor is not, obtainable sometimes.
Right.
So, in that aspect, the reformer or the Cadillac is going to give you, some space to get off the floor. But just in general, it's just a whole nother level of exercises than what you're doing on the mat. Some of those things transfer to those different equipment pieces, some of it making them easier and some of them making it harder.
Right.
So, in that aspect, taking, your surface level up to create an instability or, sometimes adding a prop to your feet just to allow an exercise to be a little bit more comfortable for people that are not very mobile or, there's 1,000 ways to get there.
There's your physical will being artistic expression, Leslie.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's why they hire us.
Yeah.
So let's roll back to that psychology of the person you're dealing with and just getting them to come and show up on a regular basis and realize that, we'll take care of you.
Right.
And make them comfortable and excited and motivated to get them back in the door. And then you have all those progressions.
Well, I think the bigger, kind of going back to something you were saying earlier, is that, people come to us with a reason, or a goal. Whatever that may be, because they need to get stronger, they need to get more mobility, whatever it is. But usually once you get them in there and you get some comfortability, and there's definitely a relationship aspect that has to happen of trust. Once you start establishing that a little bit, usually there are other things going on in someone's body. A lot of times, those injuries that they've had have come from a long time use or misuse of something else. I mean, we all have imbalances. The goal is to be aware of those imbalances in order for you to correct them to become more balanced.
Right.
So usually that's what you see. People come in, they have an issue, they have a goal, and you start working on those, and then you can start kind of peeling that onion back a little bit and start fixing some underlying issues that they had no idea that they even had, and going back to the psychological piece, I mean, that's huge, because I think that mind-body connection piece, as people start relaxing and letting things go, those things are factors, whether in a good factor of being in a good mind space to be able to focus, to connect and to make those correct movements, to maybe having anxiety or other emotional things going on, and those mental, emotional things harboring into physical states in your body, which happens all the time. And people don't understand, why do I have this chronic back pain? Well, what's going on? Besides, I lifted things too much or shoveling snow or this, that, or the other. But sometimes it's, I'm going through something. Right. And that's just a weak spot that maybe emotionally that's where it travels and likes to hang out.
Yeah, exactly. I always tell my clients, it's like, okay, you have a certain amount of wear and tear. And, we have to get shit done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so busy in their lives, and it goes back to that kinetic awareness and like exactly what you said. They say there's no such thing as perfect posture, but there is such a thing exists as postural dysfunction.
Correct.
And so when you, like you just mentioned, right, they come out of physical therapy or after surgery, I myself as well do a lot of that work in terms of trying to look at the big picture. And the way I kind of attack that is I say, okay, you just had your shoulder done, or let's say a hip done. Now, I'm going to say that's a 25% quadrant of your body. I'm right now going to, and this is either before or after surgery. If they're compromised before surgery and they got to go, and they got to get hip replacement or got some work, whatever, any kind of body area, I say, hey, listen, we got 75% that's kind of working for us right now. We're gonna bust that out as hard as we can, and we're going to respect your challenged area, and we're going to nurture that back. While we do that process, and I'm sure you've discovered this, and it goes on every day, and then you add all those things you just talked about, where their life is. We're constantly changing. We're constantly growing. The open, if you keep it opened.
And fear is huge.
Exactly, right?
And there again, getting that relationship of trust so you can dial down the fear and allowing them to trust you so you can really properly do your job for them.
And we know that we can have clients that last for 2 days or 2 decades.
That's right.
And that relationship and that trust is just, you can't put a price on that.
No.
And with the compassion that you obviously, that nurturing, I have a nurturing essence to me of wanting to try to educate, motivate, inspire, to say you can use this physical plane to both challenge your mental capacity. Maybe just stop thinking about some things that overwhelm your thoughts. And then how like you mentioned, how people can channel energy and it radiate to certain areas of the body or stresses that are just they're not unaware of.
Right.
And so I think that's a wonderful nugget in terms of informing people that every true professional has the client's best intention. Right, at heart.
Right.
And I take on every client as a adventure and a challenge. And since we've doing this so long, it's that artistry. It's like, okay, let me get out these particular brushes. We're just going to go on this little bit more smaller piece of canvas right now. In that progressions of what you talk about, like compartmentalizing and helping each individual.
And I think another perspective is, each client that I've had, I've become a better trainer because of them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because,
absolutely.
Everyone has a different situation and how you handle it, well, or maybe not so well, or how to do better, or, so,
it's empowering. It's an exchange.
Yeah, it is an exchange.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Only wish your financial guy could be that good. No,
yeah, right.
Well, this is the fact of what's going on, right? We have no control. We have no control. That's a great nugget. That's power. It's definitely powerful in that exchange. And I feel I am honored, privileged, and humbled every day that I get to spend time with someone who's going to compensate me, trust that I have something for them, and give me just the opportunity to deliver. And going back to your nursing background, the first words out of my mouth when I talk to a new person, top priority, do no harm. Everything else is after that, trying to respect and complement their world, like the shit they got to get done.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
And so not to overwhelm them and to complement their gel. And it's definitely an art form for sure as a communicator. And I believe that I've worked in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. I've worked with many physical therapists, like direct contact with and whatever, and so many circumstances.
Right.
And like you said, it's like we're at university every day.
Yeah, I mean,
isn't it crazy? It's awesome. It
is. I mean, you can
stimulating.
You can have all the knowledge of your craft, But if you can't connect and like you said, be open to the other side of what they're bringing to the table, it doesn't matter.
It's almost like you're welcoming playing poker with somebody. You don't know what they have.
Right.
But I want to have, no matter whatever happens here, I want us to enjoy this game of, right? You're going to play your cards, so to speak, right?
Right.
And we never know, like, in terms of circumstance and like, oh, that was a joker. I just got a joker.
Yeah.
Like, where'd that come
Right,
from? You know
right.
what I mean? Or like, oh man, I got 2 pair right now. I'm feeling good.
Right.
And I think that, all in all, the power of community. I always used to say, like, my father, God bless him, I had this conversation with my younger brother. Like, my father said, well, just find out what you love to do and figure out how people pay you for it. And that if your mindset is there and you're like literally like going to school,
Yeah.
every day, realize that
Yeah.
you're doing something that you love, you practice it, you make mistakes, you get better, and you slowly you're never leaving school. You're always being educated,
Right.
and staying humble that way. And it's just a wonderful thing to think that,
And trusting your instincts. I
Oh
mean,
my
you said that
gosh.
earlier when we started, but I mean, that is probably one of the bigger things that I've learned in myself and that I still am trying to get better with,
right? And what do you think? What do you think that is? That I'm not going to say wall, but are there these masks of circumstance, masks of feelings from the past that, like, when you have certain experiences that stir up emotions?
Yeah.
What do you think that is? That sometimes, right, that casts a shadow. Like, how you can be charging forward and you're like, oh, I feel great. And then all of a sudden you have some kind of cast a shadow of doubt or circumstance. What do you think about that?
I think it's all of that. I think for me it is more childhood stuff, but sometimes it's just being tired. You know what I mean? Like, I'm too tired to dig all up in there, figuring it out,
Yeah, that's
No vacancy.
and you know what usually comes right after that? Let's go have a drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's honest, real. And you talk about childhood, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, however you want to define experience, trauma, celebratory times in space, really sad, disappointing experiences, it seems like it's all like a bunch of different colors and tones and varieties and maybe even temperatures of feelings and emotions.
It's perspective.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that's what I feel. I mean, I don't want to say,
No, I want you to say it, girl.
Well, I think, whatever, I mean, for myself, things that I went through, that there were times in my life where, you want to boohoo and blame actions and things.
It's human.
But at some point you have to think, it's perspective, Do I want to rise above this or do I want to live in it?
And or continue to carry something that you don't need to carry.
Right.
Because it's like, if you've ever traveled, like after a while, you're like, man, I'm glad I didn't pack too much.
Yeah.
Or
I always pack too much. But I'm like,
or why
maybe I didn't need that.
Why, right? Think about that as
Yeah.
an analogy. Why did I pack so much?
Yeah.
I don't really need all this. So why am I spending time figuring out how to pack this and stuff it in a suitcase that only has so much room?
All right.
And we need space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, feeling emotions. What a
Yeah.
wonderful nugget, Leslie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lovely nugget because, open for that next experience. Open mind where, like, I will tell you, every one of my relationships, I do not regret any of them. My personal relationships, with friends,
Right.
with, if you call them lovers, you call them intimate partners, you call them husbands, wives, whatever you want to call them. I have no regret because that is still caring You know, for me, my journey was actually living an experience to truly have to say these words and mean it. To err is human, to forgive divine.
Yeah.
And those, I almost get emotional just talking about that, just saying that statement. Because it allows, right? It either allows you ultimately. Now, however you want to look at God and how we're here and where we're carrying forth and what the big picture is, that's each individual's, right?
Right.
Experience.
Sure.
And two, I think that nugget that you kind of said in layman's terms, and I just got all kind of mushy,
No. No.
sharing that, there's baggage, right? We don't, it's just like that whole thing we hear all the time.
Right.
Oh, I got to get rid of stuff. I got too much stuff. Why am I holding on to this stuff? And it's that
It's the same.
Right? Translates to, hey, am I really enjoying this day?
Right.
Can I strip off what's really real? And I think that synergy, and especially after COVID, I think we were already heading toward how ridiculous, number one, we've known this forever, how ridiculous the basic physical plane healthcare system is here in this country.
Right.
And we all knew it. We all see it around us. Everybody's got a story about mental health and our traumas and our experience and our baggage. People want to carry it, right? Not having support. And it gets to extremes where there's a lot of tragic and loss.
Yeah.
People just can't take it. And it's like, I think in terms of like that community, that synergy of sharing, this is the whole reason I'm doing this podcast. This podcast is inspired by my late nephew who, for whatever reason, got sidetracked, too much baggage on his mind, not able to carry it, confused, troubled, trying to escape from it the wrong way, trying to deal with it the wrong way. And sadly, right, there's many stories of that.
Yeah.
So I feel it back to a blessing and obviously a purpose.
Right.
And with wisdom and trying to share my knowledge, science, and humanity, and with that community, carry on and support what we know as this practical everyday life in America,
Yeah.
And again, it's just a real honor, and it's a privilege to be on the positive care side in terms of like trying to counter.
You're right.
And just kind of help like, hey, listen, I have a paddle for the canoe.
Yeah.
Come in and jump in the canoe.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm going to let you, wait, where's your canoe? Oh, no, it's right there with you. Come here.
Right.
And then after a while, right, like, okay, here, you take the paddle. It's your canoe. And I think that I've had experiences with people, right?
Sure.
That they're like, it's such an incredible experience to see people flourish.
It is.
Through that plane and bust out these circumstances in their mind and that baggage.
Yeah.
So it's just awesome. So here's a question for you.
Okay.
What would you tell your younger self? What stands out?
That's a hard one. I mean, my first thought would be, don't worry so much, about what other people think, about, things you're going through. But at the same time, my older self, those things and those journeys, again, are who I am. That's what has shaped me. I've learned from those things, Yeah, do I kind of wish I hadn't spent so much time in, one block of those seasons of my life? Yeah, but maybe I needed to. You know what I'm saying? So it's that's kind of a hard question.
Well, what I think you're talking about is that I think it's a kind of like a very toxic, potentially toxic 5-letter word.
Yeah.
Regret. Like I mentioned to you before, it wasn't until I stopped regretting my actions and my decisions. Because based on circumstance, we're going to make our next decisions based on our circumstance and our knowledge and our experience. And, we're, young kids, whatever. And it's hard, but it's an interesting for me because those forming years, boy, is that true.
Right.
You feel me?
Well, I was always afraid to make a
foundation.
mistake. That was my thing. I was
Okay.
always afraid to make a mistake. So
I hear you.
I think that's common to some degree.
Like you don't want to disappoint
don't want to
yourself
disappoint
and
myself
others.
or others, and then you end up being frozen. And,
Yes.
And
Yes.
that kind of, that's why just move in a direction. It's okay. I think that's, it's okay to make mistakes because those mistakes are what teach you the most.
I mean,
right?
They say
that's the hope anyways,
right? Like, okay. You hear it all. It's very, hear this all the time, right? Well, those who fall get back up, right? Get back up stronger. And I've learned through resilience, and it's only from maturity and all those failures, all those mistakes, and the ones, well, not the ones you didn't make, but maybe you make them a little bit later or something. but those circumstances like going, you finally get to a point where, like you said, there's some resilience of being able to keep your chin up. Yeah. Keep your chin up and keep moving.
Yeah.
And no matter when, so I'm to a point now in my life, it's like, oh, boom, God, damn.
Yeah.
I just got hit.
Yeah.
That was my own fault. Or where'd that come from? That's not right.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
Or wherever that came from, I can't identify why that came and where it come from and relate to anything. Why am I feeling that? But keep the chin up. Just keep that fortitude.
Right.
And I think, gosh, my three new words are a grateful, focus, and fortitude. And just constantly, that's a mantra. And I'm fascinated with neuroscience and the conditioning of the mind body, right?
Right.
And we on the front lines are using our artistry, continue to formulate our own selves.
Right.
Welcome these projects of people, right?
Yeah, because not everyone wants to hear all those details.
Right. And that's
what I mean?
That's the art form.
Yeah, they can't receive it, or it's too woo-woo, or whatever you want to say.
Well, yeah. Back to your diplomatic, professional experience approach. To say, like, my father was a huge reader. He would stacks and stacks of books on a subject. If he got interested in something, he'd read stacks.
Wow.
And he did that on nutrition. And he would read those books while I was starting in the fitness career.
Wow.
And he turned 50. And he was all concerned about, like, I want to try to help educate my children to make them have even better quality life than me.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, that's what you want for your children, right?
Right. So
stronger, faster.
So he gives
smarter.
me these books, and he underlines these sentences, and he just gives me these books, and I have the benefit of opening through these books and seeing all these key statements that he said, here, this is what you should know. And he'd tell me, we'd have these walks. The classic, right? He had to start walking. I bought him a pair of gym shoes one year. And we're taking these walks. He goes, Greg, I've learned this about nutrition. He goes, just tell your clients this and just tell them to do this. And I go, Dad, you have to, and it's getting back to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Delivery system, understanding who you're with. And I said, Dad, I've come to understand that all this knowledge is awesome. All my experiences are awesome. And I've come to understand that I've created this basket, and I make sure that my smile, my approach, my energy per person, I'm making this basket with all these really beautiful gifts, potential thing to pick from. And this is how I go to my clients. I go, so, hi, you're looking for, well, I think I have something here for you. And here's my basket. I'm not going to push it in their face. Here's what we're going to start with.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Now I'm going to say what looks, and it's like an ebb and flow of exactly what you said. What they're ready for, right? And I think that, again, going back to absolute fitness and all the cast of characters, that warm energy, the environment.
Right.
Nobody, I will tell you, I've noticed, when people come in the door, until we max out, nobody's leaving.
No.
They're making strides, happy people, making great progress, and it's just a joy to see that.
And committed. I mean,
Right?
they're committed for whatever their reasons are. Yeah.
What strategies as a fitness Pilates trainer, right, do you use to engage clients? Like, let's say we talk about a person that comes in and they go, "Oh, I've heard all about Pilates. They say I should do it." How do you approach that person just straight away? They have no idea.
Someone that's never done Pilates at all.
Never. How do they grind them into it?
Well, what is it that you want to accomplish? What do you want to feel? I kind of start by them kind of thinking internally for themselves, not with, I can do 1,000 things, but,
Right.
but what in your mind are you thinking you want when you come here, and then I start there.
Right.
They just want basic movement. Then, there's, like you said, in those first, sessions, it's sort of basic. So to,
Right.
we're
allowing them.
I like to just watch their body move and see, then I can, if they don't have a specific rehab or, whatever issue, it's more broad than I choose. You know what I mean? Where to start, and that sense of what I'm seeing and what things could be happening or not happening.
Right. And I think that, along what you said, we allow them to hear themselves describe and say out loud to you who can provide it, to that assurance of how you're there, that moment of energy, taking in and looking them in the eye and feeling that energy,
Right.
and them saying that out loud.
Right.
Now they've taken a step across that threshold
Yeah.
of a new place, and it's that's where the journey,
Yeah.
right? That's where the journey begins.
I think my favorite thing is when they get on the table, on the reformer, and at the end of 30 or a 60-minute session. Well, this was a lot harder than I thought. Yeah,
But
it's different.
do a lot of people say like, "Oh my gosh, we're already finished? The time's gone by already?"
Oh yeah, that or I don't know how people do this for an hour. I have a new client that has mentioned, actually said that yesterday.
And they keep coming in.
Yeah, he said, 2 half hours a week, but he,
Yes.
we're, there again, we're peeling back the onion for him. So
Hey, and
a half hour is plenty for him to start out.
There's a sense of men and egos, right? When you say peel the onion off.
Yeah, he at least is probably one of. I have another male client.
Yep.
That's very intuitive with himself and his body and all the stuff, all the good stuff. This newer gentleman, he is. He's doing more, coming into the gym on his own because he sees some dysfunctions that he has going on. So,
Yes.
most men aren't.
Yeah, I don't mean to do just a blatant label across men.
Yeah.
But with both your feminine energy, both with something a little outside the box of norm, where most young men experience how well they can do in sports. Or, the whole thing of how much I can lift.
Right.
It's, we're more, it's more important. We have a more strong focus in educating them to realize, and this is like a conditioning process they've all gone through, that so many people just think of even strength and cardio. And they don't think the prioritization of your postural makeup, your structural integrity, your, like you mentioned, your mobility, your flexibility, and how that's going to start. That's going to you integrate that into your life. That's purposeful for what your shit you have to get done
Right.
today,
right.
And then where to what degree you want to take that in quality of life,
Right.
right. And I know you probably hear it all the time. We're literally subtle pain management specialists.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so you kind of like, there's nothing like getting somebody's attention with pain, and if they can't sleep and being constantly irritable, right? That type thing of like that discomfort.
Right.
And so it's almost like they're going to a modern, cool doctor on the other side and go, oh, I'm supposed to exercise. Well, what exactly does that mean? Right. So, now let me ask you, I need to ask you, what do you find that your flow of your self-care is? Like, you're a provider for people. Do you have certain structured routines that you to ebb and flow to keep you strong and sound on your game?
Oh, that's hard. Not as much as people probably would think in the quote unquote structured realm. I'm still an outdoors person, so when the weather's nice, I'm outside. I'm gardening. I'm mowing the grass. I'm hiking. I'm anything to be outside.
Toes on the earth.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, for sure. Right now we're doing a little triathlon thing in the gym, so I'm like, okay, that's not usually my thing, but it was obtainable things. I still do my Pilates. Obviously, I practice that. There again, I'm trying something new and out of my comfort zone of this triathlon thing to keep myself moving more in the winter.
Yes.
Not being outside as much.
That's a great message for everybody, right? Everybody wants to keep moving more.
Yeah. And you do have to do things, this is my check, okay, I don't normally do these things. I don't like to
check it off. Okay.
Check it off in the sense of like stepping out of my comfort zone.
There you go. There you go. I mean,
I think everyone should try to do that every so often.
Yeah. And I want to highlight the fact that, your husband, Mike, the owner of Absolute Fitness, starts this program like every winter. It's kind of like an in-house little marathon. It's an individual challenge. Yeah. Everybody's just kind of going for one particular goal and putting time in. Yeah. So I encourage people to obviously check out Absolute Fitness and what we have. Mike, you, and I, consider one of the contributors to offering there. So I think that's a great way to wrap up today and just say that here in Dayton, we're ready.
We're ready.
Right?
We're always ready.
And again, humble, gracious, proven track record, motivating, structure, like you said, right? Step out of your comfort zone, right?
Try new things.
Exactly.
You don't have to like them.
Don't underestimate your potential, your true potential. And sometimes we just have to kind of trip in and discover stuff. So maybe, listeners, please come in and maybe try to, we'll make sure you don't trip too much, but we'll get you on the right track. And
even if things aren't what you think that you would like, it doesn't mean that you can't find something in it that you do.
Right.
Does that make sense? Even if it's just a pinch of something, people, I'm not a big cardio person. I don't, going back to this triathlon thing, but I'm, again, stepping out of my comfort zone. But at the same time, I don't hate it. I don't hate pieces of it.
What is it, right? What does that teach you, right? What is that, stepping out of your comfort zone? What is that? What are you experiencing right now?
It teaches me to not say or think in my mind, I hate cardio.
Right.
Because I don't hate it. I just hate aspects of it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to run anymore.
There's all kinds of modalities.
You know what I mean? But there are other ways of getting from point A to point B.
Right.
Without it being whatever you've kind of mentally put in your head that it is.
Right. And so, in other words, I call that, and I'm not sure if you've seen my little post it's a little martini glass, and it's the balanced cocktail.
Yeah.
We're all trying to help you create your what we call fitness.
Yes.
Let's say get shit done.
Get shit done.
Get your life's work
That's
shit
right.
done, and to help. Let us help with these ingredients, and ultimately you'll decide if you want it chilled or on the
There's always a way to figure out how you
shaken, not stirred,
That's
and
right.
all that kind
Yes,
of thing,
that's
right?
right.
So those details. So Leslie, it's been a real pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate, and I'm
yeah.
excited to be a part of this. So
Right.
thank
so
you.
imagine fitting in.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And obviously, we're going to continue our journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're a part of mine, and I'm part of yours.
Absolutely.
And another big shout out to Mike. So, and all the trainers there.
Yeah.
So, all right, kids. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Professor.